The devil appears behind the man sitting by himself and proposes a deal. The man will receive infinite knowledge and pleasures, but only for a set number of years. Once the time is up, he'll take his soul to hell for all eternity. On October 10th, 2007, Radiohead released their 7th studio album, In Rainbows. At the time, the members of Radiohead were lost. Their last album, Hail to the Thief, had garnered a somewhat mixed reception by critics. The writing process for their upcoming 7th album was described by many members of the band as being their most difficult, stretching from 2005 all the way to its release in 2007. In a shocking move, they released the album on their website, where you could pay however much you wanted for that album, including not paying at all. In this video, I'll be breaking down each song on that album and explain the hidden story that links all of them together. With that being said, let's start with... We follow a man named Faust, who's going through a difficult time in his life, riddled with anxiety, existential dread, and dissatisfied with all of it. He feels trapped within the cycles and mundanity of his life, always ending up where he's been before and never moving forward. This song introduces the main conflict that encompasses the whole album, the human desire for wanting more. He needs more. This can't be all there is to life. He's terrified by his own mortality, the fact that he could drop dead at any moment due to some illness, dying without having done anything with his life. The instrumentation aids in this feeling, as the song is in a 5/4 instead of the usual 4/4 time signature, which throws the listener off balance. The lyrics in the song also mention 15 steps, which is the approximate height of a long drop gallows. The 15 steps could be a metaphor for the short amount of life we're given, until the eventual end that awaits everyone at the top. The intensity of the music grows gradually over the course of the song, aided by the layered instrumentation and the increasing bass and percussion. But this is only the beginning. Faust's internal conflict, as well as the energetic instrumentation, continues on to the next track. Bodysnatchers sees Faust now fully unraveling. He's been normalized by society to live as an imitation of his past self, with his edges sawn off. Everything that had made him special is now gone. He's pretending to be someone he's not, trapped in his own body, unable to escape. As his thoughts continue to get louder and more frantic, the instrumentation slowly builds in intensity until the song reaches its climax, where his thoughts are practically screaming at him. This is when Mephistopheles, a form of the devil in mythology, visits Faust and proposes the deal. He'll serve Faust with his magic powers for a set number of years, until the end of the term, when Faust will be eternally enslaved in hell. Faust, unable to resist upon hearing of the vast pleasures he would receive, accepts it. Faust puts his newfound powers to use almost immediately. He uses Mephistopheles to help him seduce a woman named Margaret, a woman he was infatuated with. Margaret was previously an innocent and loving figure, a pure soul, but now she's being corrupted by Faust and drawn into a world of lust and human desire. Even though Faust was the only one destined for hell, he's selfishly risking her fate as well. In this song, we see the two metaphorically sinking to the bottom of a deep, dark ocean. The ocean is a metaphor for their subconscious. They're being drawn further and further into sin and darkness through their human desires. The song consists of guitar arpeggios, building from a duet to a trio to a quartet. They weave in and out of harmony to create an ethereal feeling. Faust was already at the bottom, feeling that life had no purpose, but now there's someone else with him. Why would he ever choose to stay in this depressed state now that she's here? The music builds to a peak, the guitars coming from every direction, and Tom York's voice soaring above like a siren's. He decides to follow this love no matter the risk. For the first time in Faust's life, he has hope. He hopes that him seducing Margaret was more than just an illusion, that it was real. Their love for each other has to be real, right? But again, he falls back into the depths, picked over by the worms and weird fishes, representing everything that surrounds depression. The arpeggios previously found in the song shifts to a sound that mimics vibraphone and harp, creating a muffled soundscape that reflects the sensation of being underwater. The song represents how you can easily fall back into depression when you look for love in the wrong places. There's an acceptance of failure by Faust, but still a willingness to try again and again. The instrumentation of the song becomes claustrophobic, as if to mimic the pressure of the ocean weighing down on Faust's conscience. After the soaring climax at the end of the last song, it's followed by a lyrically bizarre interlude track accompanied by a soft acoustic guitar. It's clear from the lyrics that there's a battle going on in Faust's head. He's torn between his soul's servitude to the devil while still trying to redeem himself in the eyes of God. The constant battle between the two is weighing heavy on his conscience. He thought he had it in him to forsake his loyalty to God, but he still has good left in him. Faust fell into the bottom of an emotional well in search of love and lust, and now must face the consequences. He already met Mephistopheles, now it's time to meet God. Now face to face with his creator, Faust finally realizes something. He realizes that life isn't about some great search for the meaning of it all, but instead about living with the enlightenment of God, guiding you forward in life. This is where we come to truly understand the title of the album. It expresses the idea of obsessively trying to reach something you can't, similar to the idea of chasing a rainbow. Faust recognizes that the world and God's plan cannot really be fully understood by human beings. Instead of trying to find the meaning, he decides to create his own meaning in life, a subjective meaning and truth. In an interview, Tom York, the lead singer, said that Reckoner was born out of a dream he had, the type of dream you never want to wake up from. The Reckoner represents someone who wakes you up when all you want to do is stay in the dream. For Faust, Mephistopheles is the Reckoner. This song and the next explore Faust's sins. Mephistopheles shows him a flashback where he's participating in some sort of swingers party. They forget about their house of cards and succumb to their human desires, behaving more like animals than humans. The lyrics in the song mentions throwing keys in a bowl, which is a reference to key parties, a type of party popularized by swingers in the 1960s. Couples would go to the event together, and the male partner would drop his keys into the bowl. The women at the party would all take turns picking a key at random and then sleeping with the owner, unless it was their husband, in which case they'll draw again. Faust invites a woman to let herself go. Let the accident happen, and sweep it under the rug. No one will find out. We're taken forward in time to see exactly how Faust and Mephistopheles was able to seduce Margaret. Faust first sees her at a nightclub drinking. They have a few drinks together as he introduces himself, but it's obvious that she's starting to get drunk. Margaret is fading in and out of consciousness, but Faust wants to get involved with her before she gets completely smashed and withdraws from reality. He doesn't want her to black out at the club where security might take her. He needs her to look at least somewhat composed so that he can take her back to his place. They eventually leave the club and sleep together, but this is where the sins of Faust really start to show. The next lines in the song hints that he was only pretending to drink so that Margaret would think they're getting drunk together and drink even more. His scheme was to manipulate her in a drunk state to sleep with him. The title of the song could be referring to the events that night that were perfectly falling into place in accordance to his plan, like Jigsaw's. This may have been the work of Mephistopheles, making sure that everything happened in the right order. But now looking back, Faust has a realization. He realizes that Margaret may have seen their night together as only a one-night stand and a mistake, and he shouldn't have selfishly pushed for more than that. In the end, their relationship did eventually dissolve. In a final turn away from each other, they still look back on the relationship, mourning better times. In a parallel moment to when they met at the club, they catch eyes. After Mephistopheles shows him his sins, he fully understands that what he's done is worthy of the punishment waiting on the other side. He finally meets his fate with open arms. Faust's time is up, and he now has to hold up his end of the bargain with Mephistopheles. Margaret was saved from the sins of her lover, and now Faust must say goodbye. But he can't bear to face the one he caused such suffering to, so he leaves her a final message on videotape. Although this is a painful goodbye, the album ends with a moment of brightness. Finally free from his human life, chasing joy from one momentary pleasure to another, Faust finally finds peace in death. His most perfect day was when he died, as he found out how beautiful life truly was. His peace isn't met with an uplifting climax of music, but instead the pianos and cycling drums fade into the nothing from whence they came. But this isn't the end. In a surprising turn of events, God saves Faust and sends a group of angels to escort him to heaven. God forgives him for falling victim to human wants and desires, and extends his forgiveness to all the human race. With that, we reach the end of In Rainbows. The interpretation of the album that I told in this video is just one of many. I'm not trying to say that this is the definitive meaning of the album. These songs could mean something entirely different to you, and that's exactly why music is so relatable to people. We can all have our own unique, personalized interpretation of the meaning, just like how Faust created his own meaning in life. In Rainbows went on to sell 1.2 million digital copies before its retail release. Tom York saying that they made more money from digital sales of In Rainbows than the previous albums combined. The public saw this as proof that Radiohead was a band that could release a record on the most secretive terms, practically for free, and still be wildly successful. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. I also recently created a membership for this channel that you can join by pressing the join button on my channel page. You get a loyalty badge, custom emojis, early access to new videos, and status updates on upcoming videos. That's also where I'm going to upload the director's cuts of the videos with more music and freedom, thanks to not having to worry about copyright.